Hello guys, welcome back to another video, and today we are looking at what if Burkina Faso formed an empire. Now, this has not been really requested a lot, but I'm trying to work more on my African countries and their names. So I decided to make an African country an empire so I can do this a little bit better. So the first country they're going to be attacking is Togo, I believe that's its name. Togo and Benin, those are the two. But the first country they're going to be attacking is Togo. And they will start this invasion by going a little bit into their territory, trying to make a little bit of a bulge outwards to try to eventually get down here and cut them off, which eventually they will successfully do, causing this top, that's not what I meant to do, causing the top half to surrender, and slowly but surely they will wind down the coast, or not the coast, wind down the borders, eventually get to the coast, completely taking over the country. And looking at the peace treaty, we can see that Burkina Faso has completely annexed Togo. Next, as I've previously said, they will be attacking Benin. And they will go in from the north and from the south, cutting them off from the coast, moving their main troop force from the bottom, because that's where they just were, and slight forces from the top. And eventually, they'll move in and completely take over the country. Looking at this peace treaty, we can see another full annexation. And Burkina Faso will then be gearing up in order to take on their next enemy, their strongest one yet. And that will be, they'll be attacking Ghana. Ghana is the name of the country. And they will move their troops in from the south, trying to cut off the coast. But Ghana will do a little bit of pushback here in the north, trying to cut off an encirclement. But right before they do that, they do cut off the rest of the coast and start moving from the north as well to try to get them away from their core territory. There'll also be a counteroffensive made, or a offensive made by Burkina Faso to make an encirclement with these troops, which is very successful, capturing about 40,000 troops here. And eventually they will be squeezed out, either surrendering or just getting captured or just dying. And they will slowly snake their way up the coast. And eventually they will lose all access and just to any other countries and just be encircled. But they will keep fighting, costing a lot of manpower for both sides until eventually they're completely encircled and eventually surrender. Looking at this peace treaty here, we can see they have completely annexed Ghana. And their actions have not gone unnoticed, as a little bit of an alliance has been made with their weaker neighbors, trying to, stop them from expanding. This alliance will consist of Mali, Mauritania, the Ivory Coast, Liberia, and Sierra Leone. Those will be the people in this alliance to go against this new Burkina Faso empire. With their limited options, these people in Burkina Faso will now go after Niger, and they will get a little bit of help with this, as Nigeria will be joining in the offensive, but not on the same side, on a different side. Burkina Faso, who is already more mobilized, will start rushing, pretty much blitzkrieging, through southern Niger, trying to cut off Nigerian access, as Nigeria will eventually move in from the more east area of Niger, trying to move closer to their capital, which is right here, I believe. Burkina Faso will, this is pretty much just desert and there's no one here, but Burkina Faso will, that's not country, will go up trying to get as much territory as possible, eventually meeting up with Nigeria and creating this wonky borderline. Nigeria will try to perform in a few encirclements, most of which are successful, all of which are successful, and eventually they will both come to a stalemate as Nigeria and Burkina Faso kind of don't want to go any further into the desert and kind of just sit there and wait for Nigeria to surrender, which eventually they do, and they surrender over to Burkina Faso, to Nigerian surprise. And here, let's look at a peace treaty. Alright, so here is the peace treaty that I came up with. Burkina Faso gets more territory than Nigeria, but it's not by a lot. As the territory Nigeria got was the more southern parts that are away from the Sahara, so they technically got more valuable land, especially since they got the capital city, which I'm pretty sure is right there. Either that or it's right here, and they got it. One of the two. I think Nigeria got it, though. So they got more territory because they did get, Burkina Faso got more territory because they did more work, but Nigeria got less territory, but it's pretty much an equal split. But yeah. So Nigeria and Burkina Faso are kind of like rivals, I would say. But yeah. Now, a little bit of a border skirmish has just happened on the border between Mali and Algeria, causing a war to break out between the two sides. This is what this war would look like. And Algeria seems to be a little bit cooked, but you all forget some. These are a bunch of weak nations. And Algeria will start to move in to Mauritania and Mali from the northern areas, as this was a border skirmish, quote unquote. But really, it was a staged border skirmish just to get international support, as Mali was the one who quote unquote attacked them, and their entire army was there. So they start to push in a wide front, trying to separate Mauritania and Mali. And right as this happens, Burkina Faso will also declare war on the green people. And Algeria and Burkina Faso will kind of race to get territory. Burkina Faso will make sure to cut off any troops from being able to go through into this. And Algeria and Burkina Faso will officially split up as Mali surrenders over to Algeria and Burkina Faso, which kind of splits them like this. This is not a border skirmish. I'm just gonna do this to show that they were here as well. Here, let's just make it a bit even borders, better looking. Burkina Faso will get over to this coast and try to cut off Mauritania, and as this happens, Algeria quickly sweeps in a wide front. This would not happen realistically, but this is... Take a look at this. Realistic? Really? But, yeah. Burkina Faso will then... That's wrong color. Will then move into the Ivory Coast, eventually taking their capital city, causing them to surrender. They will move into Liberia and Sierra Leone, and eventually take both of the countries, causing a peace treaty to need to be drawn up. So this is the final peace treaty for this war. We have Sierra Leone. No, Burkina Faso. Why did I call it Sierra Leone? That was this country right here. But Burkina Faso has fully annexed all of Liberia, all of Sierra. If I could finally get this thing working, all of Sierra Leone, all of Liberia, all of the Ivory Coast. They've annexed a little bit of Mali. It was this area over here, and a little bit of Mauritania. Algeria got the rest of Mali and Mauritania, and also a small puppet state Algeria got. And now for the final little event that's going to happen in this video, a coalition. Now, don't get me wrong, this looks bad, but some people are going to come to the aid of Liberia, or why did I call it Liberia? Of Burkina Faso. And those countries are going to be Algeria and the rest of Mauritania. I don't think that really matters, but Central African Republic, had to think for there for a second. Egypt and Sudan are going to come to the aid of Burkina Faso. Starting over here near Nigeria, we can see troops move in from the south, trying to capture territories that did not belong to them. Used to belonged to Togo and Benin. Eventually even moving into core Burkina Faso territory. And moving along the coast. Over here, we have recently conquered Sierra Leone territory being reliberated, as well as Liberia territory. These guys also recently conquered Mauritania things. This was a surprise invasion, so troops are caught off guard. That's why they're doing so horribly. Up here in the north, though, there is a small counteroffensive that takes place. Not invading into any countries, but just trying to retake land. Over here in Nigeria, the same thing, the Nigerian offensive, the same thing is happening with small counteroffensive. And also over here in this Liberia and Sierra Leone territory. Over here, we have the Central African Republic getting invaded by Cameroon and also by Chad. They will push back a little bit in the south. My Wi-Fi keeps lagging. And eventually they will kick them fully out of their territory. As they retreat, they will chase them back into their territory. Up here in Egypt, Egypt will start a campaign to go across the coast of Libya, because that's where the population is, mostly. They'll eventually capture the capital city of Tripoli. And eventually Egypt, with the help, I'm not going to say this, was just Egypt. I just forgot to color it in, but Algeria was the one who took up to this territory. And eventually both of them will start a sweeping campaign into the deserts. Egypt will go after that sweet oil down here. And eventually Sudan and the Central African Republic will get their act together and start invading into Chad. And Cameroon as well, as they get a little bit more support from Egypt and these guys over here. Soon, Senegal starts to get invaded into, and eventually they reach all the way down to Gambia and completely take that over. They reach further down and take over Guinea-Bissau. Senegal eventually surrenders over, and eventually it's just Guinea. And eventually they also surrender, causing their troops to also surrender. At this point, the blue team is kind of like, I think we screwed up. And it's especially prevalent as soon as Nigeria starts getting pushed even further back. And eventually is completely kicked out. And they start getting invaded from the Niger area up in the north. Libya eventually, after getting while all this was happening, Libya pretty much just did that, and eventually Libya surrenders. Chad will eventually, after getting their capital taken, also surrender. What in the? They will also surrender. Cameroon will sign a peace treaty and kind of just nope out of the war. And Nigeria will keep fighting because they're tough like that. Eventually, they will get invaded from both sides by many different countries. Eventually, getting only back to their core territory. And eventually, a overthrow of their government happens as soon as they lose all access to the sea. I'm just speeding this up for you guys because I'm running out of time to record. This would happen over the course of like many months, maybe even a year or so. Just the Nigeria war, and eventually an overthrow in their government would happen and they would surrender. And let's take a look at this peace treaty. And this is the final peace treaty that I came up with. So Burkina Faso is now the largest country in Africa by far. Actually, no, not by far, because Algeria might have them like a little bit over. But they have taken all of these countries, a lot of the Nigeria, the new Nigeria that had a little bit of Niger. They've puppeted the rest of Nigeria that they've taken. Algeria took a little bit of Libya. Egypt took the other bit of Libya. Sudan took a tiny bit of Libya up here. Burkina Faso took a big chunk out of the center of Libya. Chad was divided over 3 people. Cameroon got the easiest out of this. They only got a little bit of their north taken by Burkina Faso and a little bit of their east taken by the Central African Republic. But they also got a government change, and now... Yeah, there we go. And now they are part of the alliance. And yeah, so that will be the video. If you have enjoyed this little goofy video that I made, then please make sure to subscribe, like the video, leave a comment down below on what empire you want to see next. And I will see you all in the next video. Sorry about not uploading in a little bit as well. It's I've just had a lot of school stuff going on. So I will see you all in the next video. J. Yorkshire, out.